Hey FOT Nation, it's Tim Sackett and I'm back with SmashUps, the video cast here brought to you by the great folks at smashfly.com. If you're not familiar with them, they're a recruiting marketing platform. They're awesome. They'll help you find much more qualified candidates and a lot faster. So check them out at smashfly.com. I'm really excited today to bring in the co-founder of InHerSight, which is Ursula Mead. Ursula, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Tim.
So was that right on co-founder? Because I know Daniel also is one of your principals there.
Actually, yes, we are a team of three.
All right.
Me, Daniel, and Adam are the team that have built InHerSight.
Cool. So talk to me a little bit about InHerSight. What is it? Let the audience know.
So InHerSight is a platform, we say it's where women go for a better workplace. Women come to the site and they rate their employers on 15 metrics that matter to women. And then we use all of their data and insights to match women to companies and opportunities that have what they're looking for.
So a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're the Glassdoor for women. I even told you that the first time we talked. But the reality is you're a little bit different. So explain that differences in terms of the measures you guys are doing.
Sure. A lot of people jump to that comparison because it's a pretty good one. I mean, we're both ratings platforms where employers and employees are meeting and sharing what it's like to work at the organization. Of course, ours is going to be different because we are focused on women, and we're focused on making sure that we're helping women who have different needs and they're looking for different things from employers and have different considerations. And so the data that we're collecting is different than at Glassdoor. You know, we have things in there like, how satisfied are you with the female representation in leadership? And do you feel there are equal opportunities for men and women? Among a lot of other things like rating your flexibility, your paid time off, and even your wellness initiative.
So what are you finding are the hottest buttons for females that are coming through in your site and saying, hey, if I want to work for a company, they have to have this?
So actually, that's an interesting question because what we find is across the 14 different areas that we measure, we have the bread and butter benefits are the ones that the majority of women are looking for. So they really want things like good paid time off, they want salary satisfaction, and they want a culture of respect. They're looking for great colleagues, great coworkers. And, you know, it's funny, we always say that this shouldn't be surprising, but when you look at all of the female-friendly benefits companies come out with, it seems like they're sometimes missing the mark. So women are looking for things that anybody might be looking for, but a lot of companies are focused on things like, you know, specifically maternity leave, and that's an important issue, but also, you know, flying nannies or freezing eggs.
Yeah.
So, you know, the majority of women are looking for bread and butter benefits that companies need to get right. But you can actually see on the site, we come out with our findings, see sort of the whole list, the ranked list from top to bottom of the most important for job seekers. But we also have a lot of interesting findings on what makes women happy at work. So what correlates with their overall happiness. And then you get into some more of the nuanced issues around women. So things like female representation in leadership, you know, when that is strong or when there's a feeling of a meritocracy, you get happier women overall.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you know, women aren't really looking for, or their happiness isn't necessarily tied to how many happy hours the company has.
No, it's funny. About probably 15 years ago, I worked for a really large company, and I got to lead a women's forum, which is kind of funny in itself when you have the white guy leading a women's forum. But same thing. We went in thinking that they're going to want all these soft skills. We're going to help them reach that next level, and they came right away and said, "No, we want to know about hardcore, you know, finances, and we want to know all the things that these guys are beating us on. You know, not the soft skills stuff that you think because we're women we're going to be." And we're like, okay, cool. And then we got right into saying, okay, let's break down, you know, P&Ls and let's really get at it. So I think it's an awesome example. It's cool.
And training and development opportunities, that's another factor that women rate, you know, their experiences with. That's something that women really are looking for. They want to make sure that they're going to keep learning when they get to an organization.
So how can companies get involved and find talent on the site? Because I know I talk to companies every single day, and there's many of them that are saying, we need to increase our female representation, we need to increase our female leadership. So having a site like this for them is like, you know, awesome. How do they get involved? What would they do not only to get involved, but what can they expect to do once they get to the site?
Sure. So the way that a company gets a presence on the site, it can happen one of two ways. Any woman can come to the site, and she can actually rate her company or rate a place that she's worked within the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will start what we call a scorecard, but it's actually a lot more than that. It will start a page for that company. But another way that a company can start a page on the site and become a place that the women who are looking for jobs will find is they can actually start it themselves. So we have two pieces to our scorecards. The first is all of our ratings data, and the second is all of the information that is provided by the companies and the employers. So we really think that it's important that both sides are sharing their experience on the site, and that we're trying to create a partnership between both.
Yeah.
So, while women are saying, hey, I'm really satisfied with my maternity leave, companies can come on and say, well, we have X number of weeks of fully paid maternity leave and X number of weeks of adoptive leave and so on. So companies can register for their scorecard page. They can claim a page that already exists, and they can go in and they can actually brand the entire thing. They can put in pictures of the workplace. They can talk about the culture that they're trying to build for women. They can highlight their benefits and their perks. And that really complements the rating story that we're providing from the women who have worked for them. And they can do that completely free.
Well, and I think it's interesting because I know when I first went to the site too, I went into my own area, which I live in Lansing, Michigan, and started pulling up a bunch of companies. And I know their HR executives that had no idea that their women were out there talking about their company. And again, thankfully, most of those were really great data. And actually, I bet I probably sent messages to 10 different HR execs saying, hey, you need to go here and check out your stuff. They're saying really good things, but you want to leverage that, right? And I think it's Glassdoor kind of had the same challenge when they first started out, was realize people are having conversations about your company, your brand, and you can either ignore it or you can actually become a really active participant in it. And I think InHerSight is a great way for them to get some great data on what their female candidates and what their female workers are saying and wanting from them to be able to make change.
Yeah, and one of the things too with our match tool for these companies is that they are actually going to be a match for women if they score well in the particular areas that those women are looking for, which means that when those women get to the company, they are going to be that much more likely to be happy there, successful there, and to stay there. I mean, we think it's really important to be delivering value to both sides,
Mm-hmm.
helping women find those great companies, but also making sure that companies are benefiting not just from increasing their access to female talent, but also in helping to create cultures and attract the talent that's going to stay.
So there's a part of this, right? The cynic in me, which anyone that reads my stuff knows there's a little bit of that in me, is going to say, what's next? Are we going to have AsianFemale.com? Or it starts to go down that dating site thing where farmers only. Like now we have like job boards and job satisfaction and rating for every little segment of the workforce. Do you see that as the future? And is it because technology just allows us now to kind of segment and break that down to such a level that if I'm, a Jewish male in Michigan, I should be able to find great companies for a Jewish male in Michigan, which again might be really tough. I'm not in New York, but what's the future of all this?
So, I mean, the origin of InHerSight is actually, really in response to a lot of the conversation that we're hearing right now about women in the workplace in particular.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very powerful movement. And there will be other movements like it in other communities that will want and need platforms like this too in the future. But the issues that women still face in the workplace are there. There's a lot of awareness about them. Women are looking for tools that they can use to do their homework before entering organizations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think experts are saying it's going to be 80 to 100 years before there's gender equality in the workplace. I mean, we believe with a platform like this, we can get there a lot sooner. But, in the meantime, it's in response to a real need that working women have, working women who will be more than 50% of the workforce in just a few years.
So they'll be the majority. So then you're going to have to launch in his site will be the next one. I'm joking. So one of those main issues that you brought up, Investrix, which is an HR analytics company, came out with a study recently that talked about this pay gap between men and women and what they call the manager's divide, which is, hey, up until about age 26, men and women actually make on average about the same amount of money. Very, very close. So there's no statistical rule of difference. And as soon as 26 hits, all of a sudden it just gets huge. It's a wide gap that gets created, and then it never ends. It always stays the same all the way till retirement age. And they're saying this manager divide is when women go and decide to leave the workforce for a while to have children. And at that point, men become managers, and women come back later. And now there's this difference. How does and then that's just one aspect. And you and I talked earlier. There's just a lot of aspects to that pay gap differential. How do you see your site, InHerSight, becoming a part of that solution?
Yeah, I mean, the pay gap is a huge and complex issue, and it's one that, because it's had a lot of factors that have contributed to its existence, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done on a lot of different fronts to make sure that we reach pay equity and pay equality. I mean, in the example that we're talking about in terms of women leaving the workforce, this is something that I think our site is really directly helping with, because we're helping women find companies that have great support as they change their needs, they change their position in life, as they start to grow their families. And it really can encourage companies to beef up that family growth support, to make sure that women don't feel like they have to leave the workforce in order to have that family. Mm-hmm. A lot of this is, going to happen because women are just such a big piece of the talent pool right now, and they're growing. Mm-hmm. It's a growing share of that. But also, men have changing needs around this too. Men don't necessarily want to have their wife be the one who has to leave the workforce. Neither parent wants to leave the workforce in some situations. And so, there are changing needs on both sides of the parental relationship now. And I think that we're going to see a lot of change as a result of that. And a lot of that will have to do with making sure that we have great parental leave. We have the ability for women to craft their return to work. There's more flexibility and so on. But again, that's just one piece of a very complicated issue.
No doubt.
At InHerSight, we have women rate their salary satisfaction. And we actually think this is sort of the future of where the conversation is going to go. So right now we're talking about the hard benefits, sort of like, you could make the comparison to maternity leave.
Yeah.
A company has 4 weeks of maternity leave. That's not good. Let's get companies up to more weeks of maternity leave. It's a similar thing with the pay conversation. It's, I'm making X dollars, and there are a lot of companies measuring that. Mm-hmm. I really want to be making Y, and Y is the equitable salary that I should be making, and the equitable compensation. And what we're looking at now and starting to gather data on is, once we reach that pay equity, we can add to the conversation, well, how satisfied are you with the quality, with the amount of compensation you're receiving for the work that you're doing?
Yeah.
And just like the hard numbers of parental leave don't tell the whole story, the hard numbers around salary won't tell the whole story.
Cool. Let me catch up the audience real quick. Hey, you're listening to SmashUps. We talk everything about talent attraction, branding, recruitment marketing, everything to get you better talent. And I have with me Ursula Mead from InHerSight. She's the co-founder. And a great site that women can go and rate their employers or past employers. And also employers can come and actually claim their page and get a part of that conversation as well. So Ursula, before I get you out of here, you had just gotten back from SHRM, which is 15,000 HR pros, 85% which are female. What's your takeaways from attending the big national show from what you got?
So we had a great time at SHRM. There were some incredibly realistic minions there that kind of stole the show from Universal Studios. We had a really interesting time at the booth. We sort of led with the question of, is your company female friendly? Which of course got a lot of attention from the HR representatives walking by, and it was a great lead into, are you on the site? Is this score reflective of the culture that you're creating? And how about you share the rest of the conversation, the company side on the scorecard page? And we had a great time. The booth was very, very active. We were exhausted and has a million follow-ups. But overall, we really enjoyed it.
Cool. So tell them, everybody, how they can get in touch with you, how they can claim their page.
Yes. So you go to InHerSight.com, and you can go to the employers section, and you can just fill in a 30-second form to claim your page. And you can also search for your company and see what women are saying.
Cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate having you. Alpha OT, we are out. Go check out SmashFly. They allow us to do this, SmashFly.com. We really are thankful for them. And we'll see you next time.